They just he's like, it's gotta come back anyway. Fine line. Oh, There's one in Congress. Yeah, real Irish. With the red hair. Oh, really? It's a tragic family, to be honest. Really? Yeah. Really, it's really tragic.
Linda B. I haven't heard from you, Linda B. Okay? You all right? Linda B.
Even the name so good.
I'm just telling you, you're more athletic.
Yeah, right.
She's known that do we have additional questions, guys?
Thank you. And now, we're back to item 16, resolution 173. I believe there was a motion on taking director, and now for the vote. All those in favor of item 16 signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? I didn't hear you. Okay, so it's unanimous. Okay, done. Now, I have to do something I don't really like to do, but we're waiting for some information for some other items that may be presented to us. So I'm going to recess or ask someone to recess. Make a motion to recess. I don't need a motion. No, just someone suggested other than me. All right, we're going to have, okay? We're going to put this meeting in recess, and then we're going to have to come back, and guess what? Waiting for some pending information, we can move forward with the Rules Committee so that we can not, All right, so the calendar is now, the meeting is now in recess until we get additional information as requested. And so, moving on to the Rules Committee, guess what? Mr. Porter, we need a roll call for Rules Committee. We have a few contracts there. Roll call, please.
Thank you. Roll call for the Rules Committee. Legislator Celia Bino.
Here.
Celia. No good?
Celia. You good?
Yeah. Okay. Continuing. Legislator Delia DeRicci Whitten.
Here.
Ranking Member Kavan Abrahams. Alternate Deputy Presiding Officer Howard Copel. Legislator Vincent Muscarella. Vice Chairman Richard Nicolello. Chairman Norma Gonzalez.
Present.
We have a quorum, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bowser. We have, I believe, 4, possibly 5 items that we will pull, and beginning with item number A, 1917, okay, make sure I read the year 17. Okay, a resolution authorizing the Director of Nassau County Office of Purchasing to award and execute a contract between the County of Nassau acting on behalf of the Nassau County Information Technology Department and International Inc. Motion, please. Moved by legislator Nicolello, second by legislator Musgrove. Okay, it's your show.
And Eisenstein Information Technology, this is a PO for Infosys for $488,000 for services at the Social Services Department for program.
Questions or comments from Mr. Eisenstein?
This is
He's very nice. On the item, Ms. Meredith.
Meta J. Meriday, President. On the item, I'm happy that the first question I wanted to pose was answered. Second question, who are the principals of this company, and what was the vetting process as far as, again, the inclusion, whatever the percentages were, to make sure that there was effective outreach for minority, women-owned businesses, service-disabled businesses, things of that nature? And how long has the relationship been between the county and this company?
Mr. Eisenstein, you can answer those questions, correct?
Sure, would you like me to answer?
Yes, of course.
This vendor's been in the county for at least 8 years from before we got here. They have been the DSS vendor for their custom programming for a number of years, and they're a great vendor. Please keep in mind that IT does make an effort to bring in-house what we can, and that's how our long-term planning is. We use the vendors where necessary, and where we don't need them, we program in-house.
Okay.
Because the principal is Raj Mehta.
So the principals, again, as far as the principals, so this company has been doing business with the county for 8 years, which is prior to the, at least the initial or surface vetting process to make sure that companies that are doing business with the county do not have prior relationships or, possibly relatives in higher positions. So again, since there were no questions posed by this body to the public, I unfortunately have to ask these questions in the hope that maybe the elected official might ask for them. And I'm always happy to know that there is training and those types of resources because we are in dire need of them in social services. So again, the principals involved with this, and has this vendor been through the process that was recently instituted that was trying to vet out the patronage, cronyism, and nepotism. And it's not a negative statement, that's the reality of the county, and it's costing the taxpayers.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. There being no other comments, all those in favor of contract A19 signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Aye. Aye. The contract passes 4-2-3. The next contract is E188, a personal services agreement between the County of Nassau acting on behalf of the Nassau County Department of County Traffic Safety and the New York Coalition for Transportation Safety Incorporated. Moved by legislator Nicolello, second by legislator Copel. Okay, Mr. Strong.
Christopher Mistron, M-I-S-T-R-O-N, Director of Nassau County Traffic Safety. This particular grant is one that is for New York Coalition. They're able to provide me with additional people to do child safety seat inspections. In fact, many of the legislators here, if anybody did remember Mark Hophacker that works with me, he's being provided, he provides special needs training, so he's able to do the car seats and installations for people with children with special needs. So he does attend a number of the sessions with me. They also are the ones that provide the special programs for everything from the bike rodeos to the other safety educational programs that go on within the different legislative districts. They happen to be, so I'll pre-answer the questions, they happen to be operated by a female staff, and in terms of the contract in this particular case, they are actually vetted out through New York State with regard to the grant. I actually act more as a pass-through for these programs.
Any questions of Mr. Mastron on this contract? There's a question. Any public comment?
I just have a question, Norma, if you don't mind.
Legislator DeRicci.
Just to comment more, but I appreciate your program and I think it's excellent. And I know that this was 10 months late. It is on the list, so we're doing well with that. But this contract's coming up in a couple months, so are you set to go for January 1st, I believe it is, 2018?
Oh,
with the new contract?
For the new ones, the new, actually, this one was a 17.
Right.
All the 18 ones are actually in process. We've altered the, excuse me, sorry. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. We've altered, as grants, you'll be actually getting a large package in the coming meeting also of some current and past. We've reorganized the way in which we are doing the contracts. A number of them actually have taken an auditing role with the state, or on behalf of the state, and contracts are being issued directly through state funding as opposed to as a pass-through. So we've actually worked to try and prevent any delays in the future. In fact, all our DWI contracts are actually for 2018 are actually in place.
Oh, that's wonderful. We're happy to hear that. Thank you.
Any other questions from the legislature?
Sure.
Public comment?
Norma?
I'm sorry.
Public comment.
Yes.
My
On
question
the
is,
item.
I'm speaking on the item.
Good, thank you very much.
How widespread is this program?
Well, it's actually throughout the county. In fact, Legislator Bino has utilized our their services for the bike rodeo and so on. We're throughout the county. Matter of fact, when we can, because money has been limited as far as from the state, we're the ones that do the child safety giveaway programs for the low income and for different communities. But this particular program, I think, if I haven't been in somebody's legislative district at one point or another, I'd be shocked. So it is countywide.
Okay, so have you been in the District 1, as far as Unionville, Roosevelt, Freeport District? Yeah. He has, okay. Thank you.
Okay.
There being no other questions, all those in favor of contract E-188 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Unanimous.
It's unanimous. The next item is E-189, a personal services agreement between the County of Nassau, acting on behalf of the Nassau County Office of Emergency Management and Tectonic Engineering and Surveying Consultant, BC, moved by Legislator Nicolello, second by Legislator Costello. And we have before us.
Thomas Delaney, Office of Emergency Management. This is a contract amendment. Original contract was $82,400. The amount of this amendment is $28,000, bringing the total to $110,400. The original contract, the contractor developed a county emergency, or not developed, they updated our county emergency management plan, something that's required for us to have by New York State. What the amendment is going to do is allow the contractor to test this plan. No plan is worth anything but the paper it's written on if you don't test it. make sure that it works. It's 100% grant funded.
Any questions, Mr. Delaney? None? Any further comments? Oh, somebody, legislative by now.
Hello, Mr. Delaney. Question, what would the testing of this plan actually look like?
Well, what they wanted to do, in fact, was to have a flood situation. I went back to the vendor and I just said, we've been through that. I think we're pretty good at dealing with coastal flood situations, unfortunately. Let's do something that's more terrorism related, because that's what these grants are all about anyway. So what I want them to do is a radioactive dispersal device, a dirty bomb.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Meredith?
I just love those comments off mic, so interesting. My question has to do with the fact that residents are still basically dealing with the fact that their homes have been flooded. So I'm just curious as to why we're not doing something that addresses flood planning and shoring up residents who still have their homes that are sitting on pallets as we speak, and we have our neighbors and other citizens who are impacted by storms because we still have not been able to come up with any type of significant sustainability or resilience plan. So again, as a 9/11 first responder, I get it with regard to the dirty bomb issue, but right now, I think we need to get better educated and informed about what we need to do with incoming storms from a flood standpoint. But you all are going to decide to do what you want to do anyway. I'm just hoping that maybe someone might look at this and say, if we can get funding to test dirty bombs, but we can't get funding to put together a directory for veteran businesses to help keep our student veterans here so that they can do the work to help shore up our vulnerable county. I just don't understand. I just don't get it. I really just don't get it. But again, I know there's going to be crickets in the room, and I'm trying to stay positive and proactive because, again, people get the wrong impression that we want to stand here and take our time to be here to speak on these issues because we're not hearing the voices of our elected officials. So for those of you that are going to support this, because you think this is some kind of Star Wars gimmick that's going to make us look good in the paper, and we still have residents that are under the barrel and not living in their homes, go for it. This is an election year. People will take notice.
Presiding officer?
Yes, sir. Legislative by now.
Thank you. So excuse me, Mr. Delaney, this is for you.
Yes.
Okay, so it's the OEM's perspective, or they're under the impression that we're ready for flooding. And because we've never encountered any type of dirty bomb event, that this would be it would be better scenario to utilize for a practice, because we've not been able to determine whether we are appropriately resourced and planned for that type of event.
Well, we'll also get more departments involved, as opposed to, having fire departments going out and, rescuing people that are in flooded areas, or us driving high axle vehicles in areas that are, again, flooded, again, as part of this scenario. By the way, this is not going to be a live type of scenario. This is a tabletop exercise. All right, so we're not putting players out in the field. All right, it's not a live drill. It's not an exercise. All right, to that extent. It's a tabletop exercise, meaning it's being conducted in-house, and people are basically getting around and discussing how are we going to address these situations as they arise. Mm-hmm. For us, Sandy was a cascading event, and multiple issues kept coming about that we didn't expect. This would be a similar type of a situation where we throw injects into the exercise and players would have to think on their feet, how are we going to deal with this?
So we're saying, based on the fact that we've experienced Sandy and that type of flooding, we believe that we are now better prepared to deal with something like that?
We're extremely better prepared. The capabilities that we've established since Sandy are phenomenal under the leadership of Commissioner Kraft. We've got many, many high-axle vehicles at our disposal now that before we had to requisition them from the state in advance and hope that we would get them.
Okay, and so based on the funding that's available for this, there wouldn't be an opportunity then to do two different types of exercises? Or only this one type of training experience?
Well, we're looking at just this one right now. Of course, there's opportunities to do other exercises.
Okay, and as
I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was just saying, at the time, we're just focusing on this right now.
Okay. But you'll look for grants, additional grants to see if there's other opportunities to further explore other options?
We continue to get the Homeland Security grants every year because of our proximity to New York City and its status as the #1 terrorist target within the United States.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Delaney. All those in favor of E-189 signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Delaney. The next item is E-191, a personal services agreement between the County of Nassau, acting on behalf of the Nassau County District Attorney's Office and the Delphi University Institute for Parenting. Moved by Legislator Nicolau, seconded by Legislator Mascarell. Okay, and who's here to speak on this?
Madam Chair, I'm going to speak on this if that's okay. Bob McManus, who usually presents, was off today, and the person who they were going to send, and I said I'd take care of it, is expecting a medical procedure in a couple of days. So I figured that it's pretty straightforward. This item, it's a renewal of an agreement with the Delphi University Institute of Parenting. The object of the program is to reduce recidivism and prevent intergenerational involvement in the criminal justice system by advancing the Closer to the Crib initiative, which seeks to support a healthy environment and reduce the effects of toxic stress for children whose parents or guardians have been arrested for committing crimes. By the way, this is also funded through forfeitures.
Okay, I said forfeitures. All right. Any questions from the legislators? All right. And public comment?
I just have a question.
Who has a question? Legislator Bynum.
Well,
Yes, Legislator.
so I know that you're standing in for
Yes,
someone
I am.
else. So I guess my question is going to come in the form of a request then.
Sure, absolutely.
All right, that you'd be able to provide us
I will provide
data that would support any, or just illustrate any,
You want a little data on the program?
on the outcomes.
I'll
Yeah.
get that for you, Legislator.
All right, I appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Okay.
Yes, my question for, regarding the need for this grant, does it have anything to do with in this program, for the increased opioid and heroin use in Nassau County? Are you seeing an increase in the need for parenting application because of that heroin and opioid disaster that's going on in Nassau County?
I would say that the design of the program, in that this is a crisis in our county and across the country, that this program is more important today than it ever was before. So,
Have you seen an increase in the need for this?
I would say yes, absolutely, more so than ever before.
Thank you.
Okay. There being no other questions or comments, all those in favor of E-191 signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Is it unanimous? Frank, it's unanimous. Okay, we have one item, which is, I believe, a tabled item, and it's item E-162, and I need a motion to untable Item E-162, moved by legislator Nichols, second by legislator Cook. All those in favor of untabling E-162 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Now for the item itself, it's a personal services agreement between the County of Nassau acting on behalf of the Nassau County Department of Information Technology and SRAM International, Inc. Okay, I motion please. Moved by legislator Nichols, second by legislator Cook. Okay, talk to us.
Good afternoon, Ed Eisenstein again, Information Technology. This is SVAM, one of our supplemental staffing vendors, and we're injecting $600,000 into their line to use them as supplemental staffing contractors. They're the ones that help us with the PeopleSoft installation, other high-end consulting.
And any questions of Mr. Eisenstein? Or no legislators? Legislator Bynum?
So their work is gonna be centered around, oh, sorry, good afternoon. So the work is gonna be centered around ERP?
That is correct. That's the PeopleSoft project and the financial and the human resources system for the county, correct?
And so this software is in place to do what, track what activities specifically?
More or less the entire operational back end, the computer system that manages the financials and the HR system and the mainframe, if you will, to consider the mainframe, NIFs and doors, if you've heard those terms.
So the contract keeps requiring that we
Yes.
expand services and scope, and we're paying more each, because it looks like we,
If I could explain, so when we set up these supplemental staffing contracts, we felt it was going to be more cost effective to get multiple people to be awarded. So what we've done is SVAM is one of 18 approved vendors that is allowed to give us contractors. So what we do is with the statements of work, and at times, in this particular case, SVAM has given us more consultants that won those statements of work. So the way we're set up, we have to inject money into their budget line to be able to pay for them. Initially, when the 18 vendors were set up, they each got an even number of all the supplemental numbers. So once we put out statements of work, one vendor over the other one will give us more consultants than the other. And that's why we come to this body and ask for money to be moved around into this particular item compared to the other supplemental staff and contractors that are on hand. IT has several contracts where we have more than one contract winner, and this is one of them.
thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the legislators? Any public comment? There being none, all those in favor of E-162 signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. The item passes 4-3. Aye. There being no other business before the Rules Committee, motion to adjourn. Moved by legislator Patel, second by legislator Nicolau. All those in favor of adjourning the Rules Committee signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The Rules Committee is now adjourned.
I feel like there are 5 people in school.
Okay, you got it.
Oh, look who's here. Hey, how are you? Okay, now I'm gonna ask you a favorite question that everybody That's why they waited.
Yeah. I just didn't like. This whole ledge of everything. Because I just started working. Yeah.
It is mine. not legislative currently.
Oh, yeah?
The school's good? What grade are you in?
Oh, Eastern District. Yeah, I worked at,
I know.
It's a sick job. What did you do for criminal and civil? Oh, those are the big guys. Yeah. Oh, the gang. Oh, I went to a case. Oh man, the gang unit's like where you want to be. Yeah. Oh, it's so much fun. Oh wow.
I gotta
Yes. Oh man, I saw that. Those guys like just got.
I'm gonna get my one. Right. I was joking, I was joking. And I know where that is. I know where that is.
You don't want to sit and you can't help but not look. You want to look at them, but you. My boss like, don't look at them in the face. You just keep on. You're so terrified, but he's. And I saw some white collar. Oh yeah, no, it's fun. I did the civil stuff, but my boss would let me go down and watch it. No, white collar is, yeah. Oh yeah. Oh no. Oh no.
Oh, I like those. We're coming up to the basketball season, right? Yeah. Who's your favorite team? Who's your favorite
Yeah, the best line, the Babylon Blessing. Yeah, yeah. I don't like any other. Yeah. No, they're terrible. South Shore. Beach. Right off the beach. Yeah. And you live? Yeah. I mean, this is really? Where both? Okay. Yeah. That's great.
We could do this fast.